Welcome guys to Cut the Curve. We actually have a special episode. We're out of our office studio in Coronado, on Coronado Island. And today I'm excited because a gentleman I met a couple years ago when I started Instagram is living in this area, and I wanted to welcome Bryce out here today.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Bryce is a short-term expert in rentals. He focuses on experiences, and his company is called Hugh. How do you say
Hugh Home Rentals, yeah.
Home Rentals, and what does that mean?
So it's a Danish word. It's spelled Hygge. It's essentially the term for like comfort, you know, the feeling of comfortness, I guess. But yeah, we just kind of chose it because it's a fun word. You know, it kind of goes well with our theme and stuff, and gives people opportunity to pronounce it really however they want. So however you want to say it's good.
Excellent. So in Cut the Curve, I interview entrepreneurs, experts in their field, and Bryce is an expert in short-term rental. He's been doing it now for how many years, Bryce?
I mean, from the very beginning, maybe about the last 8 years, somewhere around there.
8 years?
I think it's been about 8 years now. But the new company, Hugh, has been around for about 2 years now. Yeah.
Awesome. And you had mentioned, because a lot of our viewers are entrepreneurs, of course, you had mentioned you went to college to study?
I did, yeah. So I was an entrepreneurship major at San Jose State University. It was a really cool time. We were kind of talking about it earlier, where it's like right on the, bank of all these startups popping up there, these tech startups getting all this money and stuff.
For you guys who don't know, that's near San Francisco, right?
Yeah. So it's the Bay Area in California.
Technology area.
Yeah.
A lot of startups.
Yeah, it was Silicon Valley, right in the middle of it. And so a lot of our professors and stuff were on boards and starting their own companies and stuff, and so that's how I kind of got into where I'm at now, where the first job I got was through an internship up there. It was a program that matched you up with other startups, and it was this company called Home Suite, which was kind of competing with Airbnb at the time up there. So that was kind of how I first got into the industry.
So were you going to school still when you landed the internship?
Yeah. So that was kind of my last year while I was finishing up school. I was working full-time for them. So I was waking up, hopping on a train at 5 a.m., heading up to San Francisco from San Jose. Would, get to the train station, walk to my office in the financial district up there. Do a full day of work, get back onto the train, go home, get classes done online while I was living up there, and then I was still in a fraternity while I was up there, so I was partying a little bit. So
you weren't sleeping. Let's put it that way. Very little sleep, a lot of caffeine probably at that time. But was that always in you, that ethic, hard work ethic? Because I'm curious about that when I interview a lot of guys who are doing great things nowadays. Was that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my mom always used to joke, and it's still kind of something I go through now, where like I was always just go. Whether it was school, with sports, with friends, everything. Like I just was always trying to do as much as I possibly could growing up, to the point where I would just get sick, and my body would shut down, and I'd have to take a rest. And so it was kind of this running joke in my family, and it still happens to me now. Where all of a sudden you're sick and you got to take a few days off or whatever. But yeah, it's always kind of been in my blood. My dad's an entrepreneur. My grandpa, on both sides, were entrepreneurs. And so I think I just always kind of saw that as like something that I wanted to do.
Yes, that's interesting, because we talk about mentorship and role models. You had it in your family there, it sounds like.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. And then even my stepdad, he owns his own law firm. So he's a lawyer, but he still has that entrepreneurial side to him. So it was just always something that I just saw and just gravitated towards. And I think that partnered with just me always wanting to learn and just want to, do as many things as possible. It just kind of put me in a good path forward for it.
Can you pick out like one pivotal moment going to San Jose State as far as what you got from? because a lot of our viewers are on the fence. Do we go to college or do we start right in the entrepreneurial space? Do you have one fond like moment of going to school, and what that meant to you as far as getting your degree?
It was, so it's funny because like my dad's that way, right? The whole time I'm going to school, he's like, why are you going to school? Like you can just, be like me and not have to, get into it right away and stuff. And it's funny because like he didn't even really start till he was like 30. So it's like, he could have gone to school, it really only makes sense if you get into it right away. For a lot of people, in my opinion, if you're going to utilize that time better. For me, I wasn't ready. Like when I first went to school, I was a pre-med.
Okay.
Right? I wanted to be a doctor, and I got there and I was like, this isn't for me. Started talking to my dad more, and I was like, I want to go into business. And so that's when I changed. And because of that, being at San Jose State at that time, really utilizing everything that I was doing at that time to my advantage in terms of my fraternity, I was, doing networking. I was joining all these extra clubs on campus that were business centered. I went into some other programs that you had to apply to get into that got me into those internships with the startups. And that really put me on a path forward, right? I don't think I would have gotten those opportunities if I didn't go to school and I wasn't at San Jose State at that time, picking up on those opportunities and running with them. I think the bigger thing is identifying opportunities and running with them, regardless of if you're in school or not or whatever, or is what's going to kind of set you up for success.
Right, so taking action and surrounding yourself with people that you had professors. They were already doing funding, and so I'm sure you learned a ton of hands-on experience through those connections at college. And it's all about if you're ready to jump in the real world. College is kind of a safe, for me at least, being from a small town and going out to a big city like Tempe. Like, I grew up tremendously, because you're at home and then you go away and you have to learn the basics pretty much of being on your own. So that really taught me to network. I networked a lot. My horizons opened up because I was around a variety of people. So that was a good experience for myself also.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key point in all of it. It's like, depending on what you're gonna do, I think is gonna determine that as well, right? Like, if I was gonna be a doctor, like I would have had to go to college, right? I would have had to have performed really well so that I can go to the top schools to then go, get good jobs, right? With business, it's a little bit different. Like, I wasn't so focused on my grades once I got to college. Like I was beforehand, and I still got pretty good grades, but I didn't kill myself over, going to some event or something like that, because what I was really learning during all that time was how to network, right? Building connections with people, getting, outside of my shell in terms of like speaking and all that different stuff, which those are all big skills that have helped me where I'm at now. When I first went to college, I could not stand up in front of a class and speak. I get really red. I was super shy.
I feel ya. I was the same way.
Yeah.
I hated talking in front of people.
Yep.
And
then first class I took was a public speaking course. My fraternity, I ended up being rush chair, and so I had to do these big events and networking things where I stood up in front of people. I just got better and better at it.
Reps, like we always talk about. You do the reps, and then before you know it, you're great at what you do.
Yeah, exactly. So I think all those things, like whether you know it while you're going through it or not, all play a big factor in it, where it worked out well because of what I'm doing now.
Right. You wouldn't have known if you wouldn't have stepped into San Jose State and tried something that you're like, oh, this isn't going to work out, but I'm going to go into business. Because, we got to try things and figure out what suits us. My daughter that you met today, that's her goal right now, to go to medical school. And so that definitely takes dedication, focus, but so does entrepreneurship. It's just different. Some formal schooling's for some people, and for others, you may or may not need to go and get a college degree. There's so much taught on YouTube, and also with mentorship now. It's get in with a good mentor, network, get in with groups. There's meetups. There's a lot of different things going on with social nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing, kind of takeaway from that whole thing is just, doing what's right for you, and just always be learning, no matter whether it's, formal learning or not, but it can also take a bunch of different shapes too. It doesn't have to be learning, business skills per se. It could be other things that are going to play dividends later on, like I said, with the public speaking and stuff, where it puts me in a better spot to just close deals. Like you just feel more confident having conversations, whether it's in person, on the phone, whatever, and just taking from every situation, what lesson can I learn here? Because that's another thing I learned a lot in college was there's a lot of circumstances where you have to overcome something, right? You've got to make decisions, and like things don't go your way, and you've really just got to make it work. And when that happens, the more that happens, when it happens in the future, you're better equipped to deal with it.
Yes, it's like a muscle, because making those decisions, you're going to have to make those in the real world too, but they could cost you money. And so it does help you with decision-making skills and the group presentations like you talked about. So after graduation, we're in the internship, did you stay with the company or did you move?
Yeah, so I stayed with, so I actually had two. So I did one.
Sounds like an overachiever here too, not one but two.
Yeah, so I actually I actually still hold the record for the course I was in for the quickest person to get hired on, because you're supposed to do 80 hours and then you're done. I did my 80 hours in 2 weeks, and so they hired me on. So the fastest in the program. But with the first one that I did it over a summer, and they actually paid for me to go to an entrepreneurship course in France for the summer. So I did, it's called the Innovation Academy, or it's the EIN, but I forget the name for it. But it's essentially like Shark Tank for college students over a 3-month period or 3-week period in France, and you get all these professors helping you start a company and stuff.
And
so
the ideas were just flowing. And got there.
It was wild. I mean, you get people from all, like Princeton, all these big schools there, all working together on these projects. So I did that, came back, ended up leaving that as an internship job, got another job with the Home Suite one, and that was a full-time gig, but I was also doing school while I was doing that. And then once that ended is when I moved back down to Orange County. So it was about 6 months after I graduated that I was like, okay, I'm going to come back down.
Excellent. And is that when you started your business in Orange County, or?
So that's when I started working for another company down here that, again, in kind of the same space of that travel, tech, real estate kind of Airbnb stuff. And so it's called Resort Share, which is the largest online travel agency for timeshare rental, which gave me the springboard under their umbrella to start Hugh Homes. And that's kind of what, you talk about mistakes, right? And if you do things on your own sometimes, right, you go out and start your own business, every little mistake costs you money. It can be detrimental, right? I always had the mentality of, do it under kind of a safe space where it's like I'm using their money, I'm getting paid full-time regardless of what happens. I can use their money to test things out, marketing, whatever, right? And because of that, I've learned so many lessons over the last couple of years that would have cost me a fortune if I did it on my own. Yeah, and we would have failed multiple times and stuff. But now I'm at a point where, I can take those lessons and, either stick with it with that or go do something else.
Hey guys, quick announcement. I just launched my new Passive Income Accelerator course. In this course, you'll learn how I built my Airbnb portfolio to 10 properties and growing while amassing $3,000 to $5,000 per property per month. If you want to learn more, go to piaaccelerator.com/go and sign up for the early bird special. And now back to the podcast. Can you give us an example, like how you split tested something and what you translated now to?
Yeah, so we did another company before Hugh that was called Resortigo.
Resortigo, okay. I think that's how we met.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a full service property management company. We made a bunch of mistakes when we did that. We grew too fast. We went into too many markets. We were trying to do full service property management.
For short-term rentals?
For short-term rentals, yeah. And the thing that we were bad at was the local management, right? Because we had never done that before.
So you go to a different state and, for example, like...
We did anybody that would give us a house, we would take it. Yeah, so we were all over the country, all different cities, trying to build everything up. There was a bunch of areas I'd never even seen the house, anything.
I bet you learned the data though, probably pretty...
Yeah, and so we learned a lot of lessons about like what areas to go into, what type of houses to work with, you know, what type of clients to work with, what works in the different areas. And we took all the lessons we learned from that, and still under the umbrella of Resort Share, not my own money, was able to go start Hugh Homes that is, again, funded without having to put, you know, my own money into it, with learning the lessons we had before. And even under Hugh, we've learned a lot of lessons since then in terms of, you know, we started off putting about $12,000 a month into marketing just to get people to go to our site, to fill out a form, and we want to talk to them. And we weren't really getting any good quality people. A lot of people wanted to work with us, but because we learned the lessons before, we couldn't, you know, really take on everybody, right? And so now we transitioned into doing social media and taking the right properties and blowing them up with influencer stays and all these different things to the point where now everybody's reaching out to us wanting to work with us, and it doesn't cost us anything besides just running our social media.
Right. And how did you learn to start doing that versus the 12? Like, how did you get?
It was kind of just one of those gut feeling things where I just kind of saw the way that the Airbnb market was going because we were in it and you know, working in it for so long. I saw Airbnb transitioning into kind of two ways to get clients with the vacation rental market. One is Airbnb and optimizing and getting ranked high with that, but there's a lot of people like myself that don't go to Airbnb to book, right? If I'm going to a new area, I'll go Google that area and look at blogs. I might not even be planning on going on vacation, but I'll see a video in a cool area that's local that an influencer posted, and I'm like, I want to go stay there, you know, and I'll plan a trip around going there. And so that's the whole social media branding PR side that we're also doing, that not only brings in new renters, but when people that are getting into Airbnb see how well we're doing because of that, they reach out to us saying, I want you to do that for me too. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach there, where it's bringing in extra revenue because we're bringing in new clients or bringing in new renters, but it's also bringing in new clients that
because they see all your social media success.
Yeah. So it's all kind of, you know, helping each other out, which
feeding each other. It sounds like, yeah. So right now, I know you're big into Joshua Tree area, and I've never been, but I'm gonna go check it out, one of your properties, and stay at one. What is that? It's a destination, it's experience, people are going there for?
Yeah, so that was a good spot to get started in. Because
those were your very first ones under your...
Under the new umbrella, yeah. And it was the only market we were working in for a while. We've recently gone into like Big Bear, Arrowhead, you know, Apple Hill, Paso Robles, some other, you know, cool areas.
And his homes are amazing. You have amazing properties.
But that's all because in Joshua Tree, to compete, you have to have really cool experiential properties because there's not much else to do there besides hiking and stargazing. And so because we mastered it in a market that was so overheated with that, now you take that same mentality of these experiential stays and you drop it into some other areas like Apple Hill that doesn't have any of that. You drop it into... It's just at the bottom of the mountain going up to Lake Tahoe. Okay. They've got, you know, wineries and all these other cool things to do there. But, you know, Big Bear, for example, for the longest time, people got by there with just these dingy old cabins because that's all that was there. You take now that Joshua Tree mentality, drop it there with these cool amenities and, you know, remodeled places and stuff, it's going to smash it because the competition just hasn't caught up to it yet. And so that's...
So you guys, I feel like, are ahead of the wave in some of these areas, like...
We're trying to be, yeah.
Like Big Bear, you're into now, and you have some under?
Yeah, so Big Bear, we've got houses with, you know, movie theaters and, you know, full arcade rooms, and it's different stuff in the different areas because you've got the elements you have to worry about with snow and Even the regulations, like Big Bear, you can't be heard from the street level.
Okay.
And so if you have a bunch of outdoor amenities, you're going to get a bunch of fines because people are going to be back there using them loud. So you've got to find ways to maximize the inside space. But what we always try to do is just like take whatever room or whatever spot in the house and say, what's the best use of this space in terms of, either turning into a spot that is very photograph ready for social media, so people are taking pictures there and stuff, or something that people are going to actually utilize and say, hey, this is something that I can get here that I've never seen anywhere else. Right, so I'm talking to another client that has a house up in Paso Robles area, and she's got this barn that she wants to convert, and we're talking about putting a game room in the loft, right? Putting an actual like slide that goes from the top down to the bottom, and making the whole bottom just this giant ball pit. And so you've just got like things that anybody could have fun doing, and then you take videos and stuff. Yeah.
Because that's what seems to be happening right now with Airbnb. I noticed recently with their app, they're promoting with their analytics more experiences, it seems.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of going that way. Even kind of we were talking about earlier with the social media side, like there's spots now that they're asking, what publications have you been in? And so it kind of lends well to what we're doing in terms of all the branding and the PR, because we're already in magazines for a lot of these things, and so we're able to fill that out. I start to question now, like, is there a new niche that's going to come out of the industry of people that are just solely focused on, hey, pay us this amount of dollars and I can get you into these magazines, right? Because now you need to be in order to compete on the platform. And that goes with all the different changes they've made, right? Like, architectural properties and stuff. Is it better to go hire a higher end architect to make your house, because now you're going to be showing up on the first page of everything? So that
you really have to stay on top of the research.
Yeah.
And the thing I learned is we're always evolving, learning, changing.
Yeah.
Like once you get it, you're changing to something else. But what you're doing, Bryce, and where you're headed, I know you started with 4, and then you had some investor pushback with, why aren't you guys growing quicker? But now you're at 30. How many under?
We've got about like 36 signed on right 36 now.
So see and that was methodical, probably on purpose on your part as a growing business.
Yeah, I mean, our big thing was, or at least my mentality at the beginning, was always under the premise of like, if we pick the right properties and the right clients and do it the right way, they will, purchase more properties through us and give us referrals and everything. And so over time, it'll exponentially grow, but it'll also give us the chance to essentially, grow with it and not overcommit ourselves, right? And so it was difficult for a while because you don't see that right away, and you keep questioning yourself, is it going to work, is it not? And then it finally hits and you're like, okay, I told you so,
And that's the hardest part, like hurry up and wait, like the patience. And you guys as entrepreneurs just getting started, you'll be tested at times, but you gotta, I would say, stay the course, stay the course, have that vision, push it. Eventually, a couple years later, you're gonna be where you want to go with it. I know you got some big vision and goals.
Yeah, we've still got some growth we want to do. I'm currently in negotiation right now on my own property in Joshua Tree that we're going to kind of use as like essentially just a way to show people what we can do, because we still have pushback. Like, I have so many cool ideas on things I want to do at houses that at the end of the day, I don't own it, right? I can tell you should do it and it'll do well for you, but at the end of the day, the owner is going to choose what's going to happen to the house. And so I want to just show what can happen if I can just say, do all these things and it'll perform.
Yeah, and I'll show you, here's an example. Exactly. So that's super dope. I hope you get that. When are you going to know?
So we're mid-negotiations right now. Obviously the market's changed, and so negotiations take a little bit longer these days than just a couple hours like they were before. We've put together some numbers. We're waiting to hear back. But it's a really cool house in Joshua Tree. And I think it's, even with all the rate changes and all this different stuff, I think it's going to be a good buy because of some of the features it has and everything.
Yeah, you were showing me some of your other properties. You guys got to check his very unique properties, very cool. All of them are out here in California right now, but we may get him to come to Arizona and help us on a fun project out there.
Awesome.
So, but I really enjoyed having you. Is there anything you would share with the viewers as far as the show's called Cut the Curve? It means learning faster, cutting out like some of the problems that we've had as entrepreneurs and getting to where they want to go quicker.
Yeah, so I know it's really difficult, especially at the beginning, to trust anyone to help you with anything. Like, I think that's a tough thing for a lot of entrepreneurs. They're like, I want to do everything, especially when you're trying to cut costs and everything. Like, you just want to do everything yourself. And the biggest thing that I've learned is the moment you can start to build a good team around yourself and just push off some responsibilities to the other people, even if it's going to cost you a little bit of money right now, that'll open up the door so much to be able to grow. Like for us, we essentially have pushed out most of the roles of our company to other people that are local, that we can trust to do the things that they're passionate about.
So setting up the right systems and having the right people in place.
Yeah, I think stick to the things that you're passionate about and that you're good at, and outsource all the rest of it.
We talk about that all the time internally.
Yeah, it's the only way that you're going to grow quickly. If you try to do everything yourself, it's going to take so much longer, because I talk to these people, especially in Airbnb all the time, that they're a one-person shop. They've got 6 properties themselves. They're trying to do their own marketing, their own social media. They're trying to do build out websites. They're trying to build out processes for the cleaning and everything. And it's like, how do you have time in the day to be successful at all that?
It does boil down to trust, because it took me a while to trust the people you delegate it to, right? And you just got to look for the best, and then have that vision.
And what I will say with that too, a good way to save some money, if you really need to save money, is find the right people that might not have the right experience yet.
That are up and coming.
Exactly. So
but they're hungry.
Yeah, we have people, our local managers we have never done local management, but they had some sort of interest in the space, whether they were cleaners or whatever. And I've taught them how to be successful and essentially handed them their own business, because I give them all of our clients, and they're very grateful and want to do well for us because of it. But I chose them because they're always people that are yes people. They're always finding ways to solve the problem rather than just bringing the problem to me. And I saw that as something that I could build around, and because of that, they're a lot cheaper, right? We're giving them something that they can grow, rather than finding a company that's already established that's like, hey, I already know everything and I don't want to listen to you.
I feel like that's a win-win for you as the business owner and for them as a young starting company. So
definitely.
I love that advice.
Yeah, I think it's always about that give and take. I mean, any way that you can build each other up. What's that quote about the rising tide essentially rises all the ships, right? And so you want to kind of always be in a situation where everybody's helping each other out and everyone has the same goal in mind and you guys can all trust each other. I think that's the best way to kind of set up for success.
Love it. So hope you guys learned a ton from Cut the Curve here today. Bryce, it's been a great time hanging out with you. Where do people check out your Instagram? Or
So Instagram is probably the best place. So my personal Instagram is just Bryce Cano, BryceCano on Instagram. And then my company is _ Hugh Home Rentals. So HYGGE HOME RENTALS. And so you'll be able to find all our other accounts through those. We got some cool properties that we manage and stuff, so you can check them out.
I learned a ton. I hope you guys learned a ton. This is our first podcast here in Coronado. I got to get a drink and enjoy the weather. See you guys on the next podcast.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.